Whether you're playing Tears of the Kingdom for the first time with no previous experience, or if you're a returning player after playing Breath of the Wild, here's a quick video over things that I'd recommend doing once beginning the game. If you're a returning gamer like myself, you'll know for a fact that one of the most irritating things when traversing the world is constantly running out of stamina. There's nothing worse than when you're gliding, climbing, or even fighting, but when you run out of stamina and Link just can't move anymore. So the first thing I want to recommend to anyone starting the game is get your shrines in. Everywhere you go, shrines, 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 because all you want to do is max out that stamina wheel to prevent you from running out of fatigue. And it's a great way to traverse the world at the beginning, to find as many rupees and items, and just to get to know the map in particular. Something else I'd recommend doing is trying to get hold of as many armor sets as possible. The game gives you many options for all sorts of armor sets, some that make you electric proof, some that give you the ability to climb faster, or even some of the ones like you're about to see here, the Champion's Leather, just give you a bit of nostalgia. One of my personal favourite ones is the Fierce Deity armor, which I've made a separate video on how to get it, but that massively increases your attack and is a very useful item to have at the start of the game, especially if you don't have a great amount of weapons that are fused together. Something else you're going to be familiar with if you've played the previous game is the Koroks and their seeds. Now, to begin with, you're going to find our old friend Hestu somewhere around northwest of central Hyrule, near this Skyview Tower. You'll catch him roughly on these rocks here where that leaf is, as you'll see on the screen. And to begin with, you'll go to him, do a quest, give him some seeds, and then he'll appear back at Lookout Landing. And I'd highly recommend fighting as many of these seeds as possible, as it gives you the ability to increase your inventory, and once you give them enough seeds, you know what happens. Now, one thing you would have noticed by now by playing the game is that we've all got a new ability, and that is a fuse ability, which allows you to fuse different weapons and materials together to create even more powerful weapons, shields, or bow and arrows. And one handy tip for fusing is looking out for these dragons. You'll notice a lot of them are floating around the sky. You'll probably get lucky if some of them's close enough to one of the towers or cliffs to climb on top of it. You want to get on top, hit it, and you'll see there we've got ourselves a scale, and as soon as you hit it once, you'll be able to go from top to bottom along its spine and pick up many other spikes. There we go, the shard spike. Now these things are very good when fusing weapons together because they give you elemental abilities, and they take a while to recharge these dragons. I believe 10 minutes or so you could come back and collect them again if you see the dragon. So when you get on it, you want to hit it and you want to get many of these items as possible because you're not going to run out of shards for a long time, and they make these weapons incredibly powerful. This dragon, the Najdra dragon, is really good because it's the ice dragon. It gives you the elemental ability of ice, and it comes very handy when fighting large groups of enemies with the ability to freeze them. So keep an eye out for these dragons, because I'd highly recommend searching the skies for them and picking up as many shards as possible and farming them, because they're going to make your life a lot easier when fusing weapons together. Now, along with the Skylands in Tears of the Kingdom, another new area that's been opened up are the chasms that are appearing all over the place. You're going to find small holes with the red gloom coming out. As soon as you've got the paraglider, this is the time to go into the chasms. And these are a necessity to begin with because you're going to be creating a lot of vehicles over time, and the different materials and stones that you're going to find in these depths, along with many armor sets, are very key to helping you when you start your game. The first thing you want to do is, as soon as you enter the chasms, is find the closest light route, as this will light up the entire area, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to see what you're doing or mining or fighting without having to go around and throw roots around the place. To begin with, when you're exploring these areas on foot, you're going to notice a lot of these flying around. They're called poes. These are lost souls you'll need to collect. They must be thousands of them, tens of thousands probably, way more, throughout these depths. Mushrooms, bomb flowers as well. Many of these things are just lying on the floor, so just by simply running around without vehicles, you're going to find a great amount of materials that you're going to need. Especially stations like this, which give you the ability to build these vehicles that will help you scour the land for as many of the stuff you need. Once you've collected a decent amount of poes, head up to Lookout Landing and go north into the office, and you're going to find a statue here. This statue talks to you, and not only that, you can trade your poes for items such as the Dark Tunic and other armor, and obviously you can see here bomb flowers, various other items that you can get in the depths. There are more statues like this one here in the depths that you will meet, and the more you meet, the more options these shops give you, and you'll be able to do quests for them. So always keep an eye out for the statues. They're a bit hard to see, but hopefully you'll get a notification. But not only are the statues are important, you want to look out for these mining rocks where you can get zonite from. Zonite is really important, and it's a bit of a grind, but I'd highly recommend saving time to basically run around the depths and try and farm as many of these zonite as possible. You can get them from rocks or fighting enemies. You want to build up a large collection of these because these are very, very important when you're going to be using a lot of vehicles. And believe me, over time, when you collect more items, you're going to want to make all sorts of wacky stuff. It isn't just rocks or goblins or basic animals in the depths you'll be able to farm materials from, but there's a massive variety of mini-bosses just down there waiting for you to simply kill and farm the materials from. These give you massive rewards, not just items to fuse with, but the zonite and shields, weapons. It's a great way to run around and farm as much stuff as you can. Also, keep an eye out for goblin camps, because once you get rid of a few of them, they tend to have a massive amount of rocks hanging around. And like I said, they're not that far apart from each other. Even in the pitch black, you'll be able to see this stuff in the distance. And I'd highly recommend going around and farming as much of this stuff as possibly can when you begin the game. Now, this is where you come to reap your rewards after collecting as much zonite as possible. This area here on the map that I'm highlighting now is one of the forged construct locations that you'll be able to find. This is where you take your normal zonite, as you can see here, that you can exchange for crystallized charges, and your large zonite for large crystallized charges. For every one piece of large crystallized charge is worth 20 of your base crystallized charge. And this is where you want to give your zonite in and as farm as many of these charges as possible, because it's going to be very handy when constructing vehicles. Now, I want to apologise for not filming this gameplay, as it would have been really handy for you guys to see, but just here on the map, next to the forged construct that I'm highlighting for you, is where you're going to find the auto-build ability for Link's arm. If you make your way to this area here, after entering the depths, you're going to have to fight one of the Yiga clan bosses, and once you defeat him, the robots here will give you the ability to auto-build things that you've already built previously, and not only that, you'll be able to save your builds in a certain menu where you can simply construct them again by using zonite. It's a very handy thing to have, especially if you've built vehicles you like, or certain ones that become very handy. It's a great thing to have at the start of the game. Just running around the depths for a great amount of time, farming as many zonite as possible, defeating mini-bosses, fighting goblins, and discovering all sorts of areas and items and enemies. You want to make your way back here to north of Lookout Landing, and this is where your hard labour pays off, because you want to head over to this construct here, and you'll be able to exchange your crystallized charges for energy wells. Now, this is very important in the game because you're going to be using a lot of vehicles, airplanes, motorbikes, whatever you've made. And obviously, you're going to notice by now, if you haven't already, that your batteries don't take long to decrease. So this is where you want to exchange those crystallized charges, 100 crystallized charges for 1 energy well, and you need 3 energy wells to fill up that battery. Come here after spending all the time in your depths and get as many batteries as possible, because this is giving you the ability to use your vehicles for longer and further, and it's very handy, and I'd highly recommend grinding this out at the start of the game along with the shrines. To be honest with you, I like to think in this video I've gone over most of the things you need to do when beginning the game. I think if I wanted to go over every single detail and area and armor set and weapon, I think this wouldn't be a short video. It wouldn't be a 10-minute video. I could be sat here talking for hours about all the things I'd recommend doing. The only other thing I'd recommend is, if you have got as much stamina as possible and a fair amount of health and weapons, I'd recommend getting the Master Sword. I have put that in a separate video if you are interested in checking that out. But like I said, there's a lot of things to cover in this game. I feel like I've gone over the basics. Shrines are the most important things to go after, then your Zonite and your weapons and your fusing. And once you've done a lot of that, you're ready to basically set out, complete a lot of the main missions, which I haven't even done yet myself personally, and just explore the land. I think those are the things that I definitely recommend doing first. And then once you've done them, just go and enjoy the game, because there's a massive world out there and there's so much to discover. So I hope it's been helpful. Thank you.